So if you're watching this video, chances are you've been struggling with the D Machine Easter Egg. Well, you've made it to the right place, because in this video, I'm going to give you some tips and tricks on how to beat the D Machine boss fight. I've completed the Easter egg a bunch of times now, and the strategies I'm going to share with you today are as consistent as you can get. We'll start with the loadout. There's two things you can do here, which is choosing your starting weapon as well as your field upgrade. Your field upgrade is ultimately down to personal preference, but I've had good luck using the Aether Shroud as a get out of jail free card for when things get out of hand. I've also had good results using the Ring of Fire to deal a ton of damage to megatons as well as regular zombies extremely quickly. Either one of these will work, it just depends on your playstyle. Try them both and see which one you like. It's worth briefly mentioning that currently there's a glitch where you can use the tier 3 of Aether Shroud to glitch out of the boss fight arena, but we're not going to talk about that in this video since this is obviously unintended and will probably be patched out of the game pretty soon. But if you're really struggling, this might be something to look into. As for your starting weapon, it does largely come down to personal preference, but I would either recommend taking a weapon you intend to keep throughout the rest of the game, or you can spawn in with a knife and melee your way through the first several rounds without having to worry about points. If you don't want to use the knife, the Gallo SA-12 and the M16 are popular options as of right now. There's no telling how these are going to get buffed and or nerfed in the future, but as of right now, these are two of the strongest weapons in the game and great options to take into the boss fight. It does ultimately come down to personal preference here as well as what you have unlocked, so try them both and see which one you like. And speaking of weapons, let's talk about what you should take into the boss fight. I'm assuming for the sake of this video that you already know how to get into the boss fight itself, but if you don't, there's a ton of Easter egg guides on YouTube that will help you out. I use the one for Codename Pizza for my runs, and I'll link that in the description if you need it. The Gallo SA-12 and the M16 are perfectly fine weapons to bring into the boss fight, providing you have them pack-a-punched at least once or twice, have a decent weapon rarity, and have an alternate ammo type equipped. You should be getting these throughout the run anyway, so there's not much you have to go out of your way to get here. Another option is the Howard 77 shotgun. I prefer the Gallo since it's available on the wall if you choose to spawn in with something else, and it seems to do more damage as of right now, but you won't go wrong with either one. The ray gun is another obvious choice to bring into the boss fight. As of right now, it is incredibly powerful and it's an economically smart choice since you don't have to worry about weapon rarity. The only problem is actually getting your hands on it since it is incredibly rare. Your best chance at getting it right now is doing the Coffin Dance Easter egg, but I don't imagine you want to reset your game constantly trying to get it, and spending money on the box isn't an economically smart choice given the kill-based point system in this game, as well as the fact that there are just plenty of other weapons that can get you through the boss fight. It's worth trying for at the start of your game, but you shouldn't need to rely on it to beat the boss fight. Something that is perfectly fine to rely on are the Die weapons or the map's wonder weapon. Chances are you're going to bring one of these into the boss fight anyway, the only question is which one. This comes down to personal preference again, but I would say that you shouldn't bring either the Shockwave or the Electro Bolt, aka Lightning upgrade, into the boss fight itself. The reason isn't because they're bad, they're both actually quite strong. The reason is because you can get both of these versions of the wonder weapon in the boss fight itself. You have access to the lightning upgrade while you're in the boss fight if you want to switch to it, or if you run out of ammo in whatever version you do decide to bring to the boss fight. And if you want to switch to the shockwave, just equip the lightning upgrade and then attempt to equip the lightning upgrade again and you'll be able to revert back to the shockwave. So because you have access to them both anyway, I wouldn't recommend bringing either one into the boss fight itself. As for which one you should bring in, it does again come down to personal preference, but I really like using the Nova 5 version of the wonder weapon, because you can shoot it at Orlov while he's fiddling with the computers and that will protect him. That way you can focus on keeping yourself alive rather than focusing all of your attention on him. The ammo isn't great with this version, but like I said earlier, once you run out of ammo you can switch to the lightning upgrade or use your other weapon while hoping for max ammo. You should have enough ammo with the Nova 5 to get through the boss fight providing you don't spam it, so hopefully you shouldn't need to switch out. But there are a handful of things you can do to better your odds at beating the boss fight that don't involve your weapons. Perks aren't nearly as important as they were in previous games. Elemental Pop isn't going to be super useful since you can already equip an alternate ammo type for less money, and unless Speed Cola and Deadshot Daiquiri are fully upgraded, they're not going to be super useful either. If money is tight, it's far better to spend that money on more weapon upgrades, whether they're pack-a-punch stages or equipping alternate ammo types. Trust me, you're more than fine with just Jug, Quick Revive, and Stamina Up. Speaking of things to bring into the boss fight, don't forget about your equipment. Stock up on C4 and monkey bombs. Decoys will work as a budget replacement for monkey bombs if you can't afford them or don't have them unlocked yet. Try and get your hands on a combat bow to further protect yourself, or a sentry gun to protect Orlov. You may not need them, but if the opportunity arises, you'll be happy you brought them. Also, and this should go without saying, be sure to go into the boss fight with plenty of ammo, and make sure you have a self-revive on hand in case you go down. It is worth going through the entire game flawlessly to keep that self-revive for the boss fight, or for when you're outside the boss fight like in my case here, but don't reset if you go down just in case you happen to get lucky in that game. Now let's talk about the actual strategy itself and how you should play once you're inside the boss fight. The mistake I see a lot of people make, and the mistake I made when I did this for the first time, was focusing too much on Orlov. We've all played a video game where you have a level where your objective is to protect an ally, and that ally has basically no health. We've all been there, and seeing this boss fight for the first time, you might assume that Orlov doesn't have a lot of health, but that isn't the case. Orlov has more than enough health to survive plenty of hits. You should only need to focus on him when he needs help. That's not to say you should completely ignore him either, but focus on keeping yourself alive first and foremost. And if you're using the Nova version of the Wonder Weapon, you can ignore him even further. Speaking of things that you should ignore, there's a red Megaton that spawns into the boss fight with you. This is Mayak, or the Megaton Overlord as he's sometimes called. He is not an issue. He doesn't seem to attack Orlov for whatever reason, and he moves too slow to be a problem for you. He's a distraction from the regular zombies and split megatons. Keep your distance from him and avoid wasting tons of ammo trying to take him down, and you'll be fine. It's also worth remembering that the armor station is in the boss fight with you, so be sure to constantly be repairing or even upgrading your armor as well as your weapon rarity while you're in the boss fight. If you're doing all of this and it still isn't happening, try going into the boss fight on an earlier round. That way the zombies will have less health, and if you manage to get your hands on some strong weapons on a low round, then that will make the boss fight far easier. Armed with all of this information, you should be able to complete the boss fight without any issue. Just remember to avoid touching any blue lights on your way to the helicopter, and you'll have completed the D Machine Easter Egg. If you found this video helpful, leave a comment and let me know. Thanks for watching, like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.